So which flower seeds can you plant in March? I'm sure you won't be surprised to know there is such a variety of different flowers available. It'll always come down to personal choice. And what I'm going to do in this video is share with you 8 varieties of flowers that I'll be sowing in March, ready for planting out later in the year, and also explaining the benefits of flowers in the vegetable garden. So if you do like this video, don't forget to give it the thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe to the channel for future videos on how to sow and grow fruit and veg and 1 or 2 recipe ideas, don't forget to press the subscribe button. So those of you who are regulars to the channel will know that the content of the channel is primarily on growing fruit and vegetables and tips around those. So you may wonder, why am I talking about flowers? Well, the reason is that flowers have a massive benefit if you have them in the same environment as your vegetables. So flowers are beneficial for a number of reasons. So the first benefit is that flowers provide a nice splash of colour in your vegetable plot. That's always nice. Secondly, they attract pollinators into your vegetable area, and that's important because many of the vegetables that you grow will need to be pollinated. Things like honeybees, butterflies and other insects will pollinate. If you've got flowers in the environment, they will be attracted to the flowers but also to the wider vegetables. Secondly, certain type of flowers, particularly low growing flowers, can provide ground cover, and that can help suppress weeds. So what I'll be doing is sharing with you 8 varieties of flower seeds that I'll be sowing in March that will benefit my vegetable plot. Now, before I start talking about the different flowers that I've selected, it's worth mentioning that I'm based in zone 8A, right in the centre of the UK. And all the flowers that I'm going to discuss today, I'm going to start off in cell trays inside, and then when the weather gets a bit warmer, I'll transplant them outside. So based upon wherever you're located, you might need to adjust the sowing times depending upon your own local climate. Now I'm going to start off with one of my absolute favourites. This is Nasturtium. This is a variety called Tom Thumb Mix, and you can see on the packet it's recommended by the Royal Horticultural Society in the UK as an excellent pollinator for other types of plants and vegetables. So it's an absolutely excellent plant to have near your vegetables. A really bright coloured flower. So I'll start these off in seed trays in multi-purpose compost to a depth of 1.5 centimetres, which is 15 millimetres, and in about 14 to 21 days they'll start to germinate. So when they get large enough, I'll then transplant them into larger pots and then get them ready to go outside. One thing that people don't realise about nasturtiums is the petals are edible, so they can be used as garnish for things like salad. So my first flower that I'll be sowing in March, which is an excellent pollinator, is nasturtium. So when I am selecting flowers and what I'm going to grow, I look at a number of things. Clearly the colours are important, but I also look at the size of the flower, what size they grow to, because I like to have flowers that some are reasonably tall, some are medium sized and some are small, just to give a nice gradient of colour. And another flower that I'll be sowing in March, which grows to a height of about 45 centimetres, which is about 18 inches, is Sweet William. This is a variety called Single Mixed, and as you can see the colours are nice and bright, but there's lots of different varieties of Sweet William depending upon what your colour of choice is. Now the back of the seed packet recommends sowing these directly outside in April, but as we're going to be in March, I'm going to start them off in cell trays inside just to give them a bit of a head start and then transplant them out when they're large enough. But that's another favourite of mine, and also as well, this is also another Royal Horticultural Society recommended pollinator, so another excellent flower to be around your vegetables. Now there's so many great varieties of flowers available, but if you were to ask me what was my absolute favourite, I would pick Petunia. There's such an amazing variety of different colours of Petunia, and they're such a lovely flower. This particular variety is called Multiflora F2. This will grow to around about 30 centimetres, so sort of a medium height type of flower. Now, unlike the nasturtiums and the Sweet Williams that I've just looked at, these need a bit of a higher temperature for germination, typically 18 to 22 degrees C. So you might need to grow them under polythene or even in a propagator to get them started. And then once they've germinated, they'll stay in my poly house, and when they're the right size, I'll transplant them into individual pots, and eventually when they're ready, they'll be planted outside. Another one of my favourites, and something I'll be sowing in March, is Dahlias. This is a variety called Dwarf Double Mix, and as you can see, as it's a mixed variety, you get the benefit of having a range of different colours. Now I'm not sure what's dwarf about it, because these will grow to about 60 centimetres, 24 inches, which is about 2 feet, so quite a good height for a flower. These will need to be sown indoors because they'll need a temperature of around about 15 to 20 degrees centigrade, so you might start them under polythene or under glass, or as with the Petunia, maybe even in a propagator. In fact, these can be sown indoors February, March or April, and they usually flower from July to August. Now Lobelia is always a winner. This is one of the low growing flowers. This one will grow to around about 20 to 30 centimetres, so not very high, but it produces really good ground cover. It's a great plant to put in hanging baskets, but I'll be planting some of these in my vegetable plot with the other flowers to help attract pollinators. Now Lobelia need to be sown indoors. They can be sown in March or April, and these need temperatures of 15 to 20 degrees centigrade. And remember, when I'm talking about temperatures, I'm talking about soil temperature, not air temperature. So these will start off indoors, and when they're large enough will be transplanted outside. Now this is a lovely variety called Sapphire Pendula. Nice purpley blue colour. You can get Lobelia in whites and reds and mixed varieties, but this is always my favourite colour. And these will flower from June to October. Now for some low level ground cover, and something also recommended by the Royal Horticultural Society as a pollinator, is alyssum. This is a variety called Carpet of White. I've not grown this variety before, but I like the white, and that will contrast nicely with the other colours of the flowers that I have. Now alyssum can be sown indoors in February or March and to a very shallow depth, almost on the surface, with a very thin coat of compost, and they do need to be kept moist. They'll germinate after 14 to 21 days, and then they will be transplanted when they're at the right size, and eventually they'll be planted out. These will flower from June to October. The variety is called Carpet of White, so that suggests that it's going to give a nice splash of low level colour in the vegetable garden. Now another low growing flower that I've never grown before but really like the look of is something called Mesembryanthemum. This is a variety called Mix, and you can see the different colours, and I just like the look of the flowers, and as it's a low growing flower I think it's going to be an excellent pollinator to mix in with the other flowers that I've mentioned. Now like some of the other seeds that we've just looked at, this is going to require soil temperatures of 15 to 20 degrees centigrade for germination, so they're going to have to be started indoors, particularly in March. So therefore this will go in my propagator. So when they've germinated, I'll then take them out of there and then put them in my polyhouse and let them grow on from there. These will just be sown thinly in compost, and then with a very thin layer of compost over them and watered, and then put in the propagator. They only grow to a height of around about 7.5 centimetres, which is 75 mil, so a very low growing flower. And finally, one flower that really grabbed my attention when I saw it is something called Katanachae. Looks absolutely amazing, doesn't it? This flower is also recommended by the Royal Horticultural Society as an excellent pollinator, so it's going to be perfect around vegetables. There's nothing on the packet that says that it has to have high temperatures to germinate, so therefore it's not going to need a propagator. So I'll plant it in cell trays in my polyhouse, cover it with compost, and then wait for it to germinate. Now these will grow to a height of 60 centimetres, which is 24 inches or 2 feet, so it's going to be a high plant, which is going to be excellent with the other flowers that I've selected, and also the colour as well. I think it's quite dramatic, and this will flower from June through to September. Well, I've really enjoyed filming that and showing you some of the flowers that I'll be sowing in March, and hopefully emphasise the importance of them in relation to pollinators for your vegetable plot. So I hope that's given you one or two ideas. It'd be really interesting to find out what flowers you're growing and what part of the world you're in, because there are so many varieties of flowers available, and it'll just give other people watching this video one or two ideas. So I really hope you've enjoyed that, and if you did, don't forget to give it the thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe to the channel for future videos on how to sow and grow fruit and veg and one or two recipe ideas, don't forget to press the subscribe button. And I'll see you all on the next video.